We're counting down the 10 most expensive wines ever sold, a ranking where history, rarity, and pure myth drive prices higher than most luxury cars. From presidential legends and shipwrecked champagne to modern design masterpieces and cult collector icons, each bottle on this list redefines what wine is worth. But which single bottle shattered all records? Let's begin at number 10, where a faded signature may matter more than the wine itself. Chateau Lafite, 1787, opens the list with a price tag of around $156,000. The real draw is not in the glass, it is in the story. This bottle carries the initials THJ, reportedly etched into the glass by Thomas Jefferson himself. Jefferson's passion for French wine is well documented, but the authenticity of this particular bottle has sparked debate for decades. Scholars at Monticello have raised eyebrows over the etching and the chain of custody, yet the market keeps rewarding the legend. Nearly 2.5 centuries old, and almost certainly undrinkable, this bottle's value lives in the myth of presidential ownership, not in its flavour. Number 9 swaps dusty cellars for pure spectacle. The Penfolds Ampoule isn't just a bottle. It is a hand-blown glass vessel suspended inside a futuristic wooden sculpture holding the 2004 Calimna Block 42 Cabernet Sauvignon. Only 12 exist in the world. There is no cork and no screw cap. If you want to drink it, Penfolds will send a senior winemaker, wherever you are in the world, to crack the ampoule open in a private ceremony. At $168,000, you are not just buying rare wine, you are buying a one-of-a-kind performance, a collector's experience that feels more like modern art than anything you would find in a cellar. Burgundy's Domaine Leroy Musigny. Grand Cru 1990 lands at number 8, where scarcity and reputation collide. Fewer than 500 bottles exist from this vintage, each one crafted under the watchful eye of Lalou Bizet-Leroy, a pioneer of biodynamic winemaking and a figure almost mythic among collectors. Musigny's Grand Cru status already commands respect, but when paired with Leroy's relentless pursuit of perfection and an exceptional 1990 harvest, the result is something close to obsession in the wine world. Auction records show a single bottle reaching $224,000, driven not by flashy packaging or performance, but by the pure allure of rarity and the name on the label. A bottle of Chateau Margaux, 1787, said to have belonged to Thomas Jefferson, never made it to a collector's cellar or even to a tasting. In 1989, during a high-end New York restaurant dinner, a waiter accidentally knocked the bottle off the table. The glass shattered, and with it, any hope of sampling the 200-year-old wine. Instead of a triumphant toast, the owner filed an insurance claim. The payout? Nearly $225,000. That was the full market value at the time. This was not a reward for flavour or experience. It was a payment for history lost, for a story that could no longer be retold in person. Even in pieces, the bottle's value held firm, proving that in the world of rare wine, myth and provenance can outweigh what is actually in the glass. In 2010, Sotheby's Hong Kong set the wine world buzzing when 3 bottles of Chateau Lafite, 1869, left the auction block at nearly $230,000 each. These were not just relics from Bordeaux's golden age, they came straight from Lafite's own cellars, ensuring flawless provenance. The real story, though, was the bidding war among mainland Chinese collectors. After the 1997 handover, Hong Kong's role as a luxury hub soared, and Lafite became the ultimate status symbol across Asia. For many new billionaires, owning Lafite was not about tasting history, it was about showing you could claim the best, no matter the cost. That kind of demand transformed the auction floor into a high-stakes arena, pushing prices far beyond what the same bottles might fetch in Europe or America. When reputation, rarity, and regional pride collide, even the world's oldest cellars cannot predict where the hammer will fall. In 1916, a shipment of 1907 Charles Heidsieck champagne was loaded onto a ship bound for the Russian imperial court. The journey ended abruptly when a German submarine torpedoed the vessel in the Baltic Sea, sending hundreds of bottles to the ocean floor. For decades, the champagne rested in pitch-black, icy depths, far from any cellar, where the cold and pressure preserved them. Divers finally discovered the shipwreck in the 1990s, hauling up bottles that had survived both war and time. When experts uncorked them, they found the wine surprisingly lively, with citrus, honey, and brioche still present after 80 years underwater. With a price tag close to $275,000, each bottle is more than just a drink. It is a relic of a vanished world, made priceless by survival against all odds. A 6-litre bottle of 1947 Chateau Cheval Blanc stands as a legend among collectors, fetching $304,000 at a Christie's Geneva auction. The story begins with a summer so hot that winemakers feared disaster. Fermentation ran wild, sugar levels soared, and the cellar team faced one technical crisis after another. Yet against every expectation, Cheval Blanc delivered a wine that critics now call opulent, exotic, and endlessly complex. The 1947 vintage is often described as a flawed masterpiece, its richness and sheer power unmatched by anything before or since. Large format bottles like this Imperial are almost never seen from that era, and their size means the wine ages more gracefully, preserving its character for decades. For many, this is the ultimate intersection of human skill, natural chaos, and pure rarity, a bottle that turns technical adversity into one of the greatest triumphs in wine history. A Jeroboam of Chateau Mouton Rothschild, 1945, stands as a monument to both history and rarity. The end of World War II brought liberation to Bordeaux, and Mouton celebrated with a label that shouted "V for Victory," a bold painted V commissioned by Baroness Philippine de Rothschild herself. This was not just a bottle, it was a statement. The Jeroboam holds 4.5 litres, the equivalent of 4 standard bottles, and large formats like this from the 1940s are almost never seen. In 2007, Sotheby's auctioned one straight from the Baroness's private cellar, its provenance as flawless as its symbolism. The hammer fell at $310,700, setting a new benchmark for wine as both art and artifact. Here, the value is not just in the wine or the size, but in the story, a vintage that toasted the end of war, housed in a bottle built to outlast generations. A 6-litre bottle of Screaming Eagle Cabernet Sauvignon from the 1992 vintage shattered expectations when it sold for $500,000 at the Napa Valley Wine Auction. This was not just any bottle. It was the winery's very first release, and in the world of cult Cabernet, that debut status is everything. Screaming Eagle's production is famously tight, with a waiting list that stretches for years, but the real magic happened in the auction tent. The bidding was not just about owning a rare bottle, it was a high-stakes display of generosity and social clout, with wealthy donors driving up the price for charity. At the end of the day, the winning paddle bought more than just wine. It bought bragging rights, philanthropy, and a piece of Napa legend, all in a single towering Imperial. $500,000 for a California Cabernet. And the story is not even finished yet. Nothing in the world of wine collecting compares to the legend of Domaine de la Romanée Conti, 1945. This is Burgundy's crown jewel, a single vineyard in Vosne-Romanée, famous for coaxing out the purest expression of Pinot Noir anywhere on earth. In 1945, just 600 bottles were produced, and that is not just a small number, It is the last harvest ever taken from the estate's ancient vines before they were ripped up and replanted. For collectors, that makes each surviving bottle a piece of winemaking history that can never be repeated. When a bottle with perfect provenance surfaced from the cellar of Robert Drouhin, the world took notice. The Drouhin family were long-time exclusive distributors for Romanée Conti in France and Belgium. Drouhin's stewardship meant decades of careful storage, a direct line from the vineyard to the auction block. In October 2018, Sotheby's New York brought 2 bottles to auction. The hammer fell at $558,000 for one of them, setting the record for the highest price ever paid for a standard 750 milliliter bottle of wine. This was not a Magnum or a Jeroboam. No celebrity label, no charity bidding war, just one bottle from the last of the old vines, carrying the full weight of Burgundy's myth. With nearly all 600 bottles lost, consumed, or broken over the years, what remains is as close as it gets to legend. At this level, the wine itself almost disappears behind the story, the soil, the scarcity, and the sense that you are holding the final chapter of a great saga. For one collector, $558,000 was the price of immortality in a bottle. Across all 10 bottles, one truth emerges. At the highest level, wine becomes less about taste and more about the power of story, rarity, and legacy. These prices reveal how far people will go to own a piece of myth. That's the true currency of legendary wine.